So look, check it out, right? So I had a coworker or slash friend really, kind of asked me like, because I was kind of telling them, I don't really, not that I don't like people. I guess it's that I do. I don't know, whatever it may be. I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I gotta tell y'all why I don't go around people. When I'm not generally around people, and it's funny because for my profession, I have to talk to people all day. I have to communicate. On a good on a good day, sorry, on a good day, maybe they don't come outside when what I do is I'm a mobile mechanic. I work on electric cars and all that. So a lot of times people have a lot of questions and all that or whatever. So what I do naturally requires me to talk to people. So and y'all would understand if I go to your house, you probably and I go to work on your car, you probably want to talk to me. Um, but anyway, to get back on topic, this is a video, kind of me explaining my personal reasons as to why I don't really like people. I would say it's based off of, well, we got to be honest with ourselves. You got to, at least say, be honest with ourselves and what we could have done to make it better, or whatever the case might be. But for me, I would say, um, just people in my life, you know what I'm saying, growing up, and then also things and situations that I've seen and kind of been through as well. On into like more recently, I guess from the top down, I would say maybe my biggest thing is how people treat each other. You know what I'm saying? I spent a lot of time, a lot of time growing up as a kid, just really trying to figure out, you know, why why me as a person generally was not accepted. You got to understand, so a lot of us as kids, your mom or your dad or your grandma or all three of them or two, whatever variation, they, if you're lucky, if you're blessed, they show that they love you, or at least you know what I'm saying? Some of us have family members or parents that didn't really show it the way that you might have needed, but you knew it. You bet money on it. They love you, right? So you when you step outside, the one of the lessons you have to learn as a growing up is that love that they have for you that exists in that house. That doesn't exist outside, meaning those people outside don't really, you get what I'm saying? They don't really care about you. And that's fine. I guess for me, I wasn't prepared for what extent that, for me, what I noticed was there's a lot of people that just didn't like me. You know what I'm saying? Specifically my people, we black folks are a little bit, we judge each other a little bit harshly, so there were so many people that just did not accept me, that didn't like my whole vibe or whatever. So, as a young person, young man or young woman, you don't know exactly how to handle that because you are literally who you are. You elementary school, middle school, whatever. You are who you are. You don't really even know yet, really. You're not even finished building yourself up yet. And so for people to not like you, it's tough. So, and at the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is it comes down to if you fit inside of a mold, if you fit into the cultural norms, you fit into the norms that people set. I think a lot of people, when they hear something like this, they might wonder what the issue is. Usually, if you don't see an issue, it's because you fit into a norm. You fit into an everyday vision of what, being a young black man, black woman, whatever, I'm saying, race you are, you fit into that. You might have some quirks that somebody laughs about, I'm saying, but you fit into the norm. And so when you fit into the norm in any way, shape, or form, any way, shape, form, or fashion, it's a lot easy for you to just have a couple little quirks or um, a couple little, whatever. Like you fit into that. So for me, it took a long time for me to figure out where to go, who accepted me, and I wasn't generally accepted. So I think for me, what I ended up doing really early on, probably middle school, elementary school, was I said, well, um, if I'm bad, which is easy for me for whatever reason I was bad from as a kid. I felt like I was always in trouble. So that seemed like it, I don't want to say came naturally, but and I had my own reasons for why I was acting out, you know what I'm saying? But what ended up happening was I realized that if I said, you know what, instead of just acting out for this reason, I'm gonna act out for both of these reasons. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna add on the fact that, a lot of people that look like me, this, not just took a liking, but would accept me if I was either good at sports, um, or bad. You know what I'm saying? Like good at sports, well dressed, or bad, or any combination of the three. That was, and I can't speak for everybody's experience. I can speak for just me and my location of growing up, and the particular kids that I grew up around. So this is no way. If y'all feel like, I don't know what he's talking about, that's cool. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's cool. That's actually good. But stay tuned though. So yeah, that's basically what I did. So naturally I was getting in trouble left and right because I wasn't confident in school, wasn't confident in schoolwork, so on and so forth. Um, when you feel different than everybody or people treat you differently, whichever way, what ends up happening is you get this chip on your shoulder where you're just trying to show the world this, I am this. I'm not to be fucked with. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. Don't try me. Don't. You can't just walk all over me. I'm built like this, right? I could do this, I could do that. So you are trying to find a way to fit in. You got the cool black guys, you know what I'm saying? You got the street black guys. You got the sport, the brothers that's good at sports. Those are the three black guys you have to pick from in most places. And like I said, or the combination of the three, whatever. So you have to pick one. So for me, I never really fit into any one of those. I like sports as like a good pastime, but my heart wasn't in it. I just played it. I tried the best I could to love sports. I just didn't love it. So there's that. Being the cool black dude, I was too socially awkward. Women didn't really flock around me left and right. I wasn't able to dress up to par either. So a lot of these things kind of. I'm 6'2" now, right? I've been taller my whole life. So a lot of these dudes that was dressing real fresh, they were like, they were way shorter than me. Shoes were way smaller than mine. Some of these dudes could shop at Kids Foot Locker still. So, when you buying them a $70 pair of Jordans and mine's cost 160, it kind of changes the game. You know, it's not something that was something we could afford to do, right? So, and again, some people say, oh, they would have did it anyway. Listen, my parents were older than a lot of my friends' parents, so more than likely they weren't going to do it anyway. How that's just not how their brain worked in that regard. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So, yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. But to move forward, that's kind of the foundation right there. So, like I said, I decided to say, okay, I'm not gonna just act bad. I'm not gonna just be bad because I'm not confident in school. I'm frustrated about something that's going on in my life. I don't feel seen. I don't feel listened to. I don't feel heard. However you want to say it. So I'm gonna act bad. I added on the fact that a lot of black kids around me were receptive to me being bad. So it almost got clout. I almost got clout every time I got kicked out of a class, every time I got into an argument with a teacher, every time I said something stupid in class. So it was a class clown, all that. When I did all that, that kind of helped with my clout. You know what I mean? because I was not going to be the it guy because of my personality. I was having trouble just with the standard acceptance. You know what I'm saying? So there was that. I would say at that point in time, during that time, that might have been late elementary, early middle school. So that would have been when I decided that I have to be a certain way around people, which is not necessarily myself, around people in order for people to accept me. Just me waking up and going outside is not going to work. And I would watch people that would just wake up and go the fuck outside and everything was fine. And I could not for the life of me understand why it didn't make any sense why I just that just wouldn't work for me. Why I can't just like how come this person can do it? What is the issue? Is it like am I like what am I you know what I mean? What am I doing that's different? And everybody's got a different personality, you know, and obviously I wasn't the only one. But as a kid, that's you see everything happening around you and you wonder, you know. And this that issue kept going up all the way into I would say into high school. And honestly, it's still hit or miss now. I'm gonna be honest with you, but so up through high school, I remember I had friends that were neighborhood friends. When we go to high school, they can't be seen around me. You know, they can't be around me. And so what I learned from that was there's something about you that people do like, but it is not something that's generally accepted. Something, I mean, there's some people that do like something about you. There's something special about you, but we can't like it yet. It's not cool to like it yet. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing, and that's just kind of what I got from that. So, and that was high school. I'm talking about childhood, real close friends that I had in, elementary school, middle school. I would go over their house and eat dinner. I played with them at their house. And, when high school started, that's when everything kind of separated. There was, that's just what it was. I would see him at school and say what's up to him. And it was like, it's almost like saying what's up to somebody you haven't met yet. It was a real cold feeling. I remember, but yeah. In elementary school, teasing started. For me, pretty tough. Up and through middle school, different reasons. I don't even remember really. I can't remember exactly what it was, but stuff like that will make you feel different. I think to a certain level, obviously that's what kids do. First of all, like let's not shy away from that. Like kids do that kind of stuff, and it might not even mean anything. In fact, if you were to go to another school, you might not even have the problem again. It's just sometimes I've seen it to where some kids get teased, and then one of the kids that's teasing gets transferred, and the teasing just stops. It just because it really was just that one kid. It wasn't even a school thing. It wasn't even anything wrong with the kid they were teasing. It's just that one kid had a really good joke, a really good bit about the other kid, and it just, But yeah, and it was, and again, that's how it was. So I kind of got used to not being accepted from a young age, and it's kind of actually, I would say, the most heartbreaking thing about this because I got a 4-year-old son, right? And I got a daughter on the way. The most heartbreaking thing about this, if I'm honest with you, is um, that I was so young having to deal with this and hold this on my shoulders and did not have anybody to help me walk through with it. And that I would say that's the hardest. That would be the hardest thing because you at that age you're too young to hold on to that kind of trauma. But it is what it is. So you do it. So carry that. Nobody to really talk to about that. Like I said, I don't. Parents weren't really receptive to that. They didn't know we didn't create with my parents. I didn't create or they didn't create we didn't create a bond to where we could talk to each other about everything. So this is a reminder: if you have kids that are young, try to create that bond. Yes, they get to a point where they're too cool for school, but I can tell you now, I have proof. Just looking back, I got proof being around people's families and stuff like that. That yes, high schoolers go through a time where they don't tell their parents nothing, right? And level of greatness for a parent. This isn't me deciding whose parents are great and whether or not my parents are great. What I'm saying is if you don't create that bond to where your kids can talk to you about everything, they won't talk to you about anything. They won't do it. Your kids won't do it. Your kids won't go to you and tell you the things that are messing with them at school. Sometimes kids feel like you got enough going on, right? There's a list of reasons why, but if you don't create that bond with your kids, you don't allow them to speak up in issues in the family, you don't listen to what they have to say about stuff and take it and, just take it under consideration and, excuse me, just think about stuff like that. If you don't do that, then you don't, sorry, if you don't do that, then you don't create that ability for them to do it later on. So, and I mean, I know adults that cannot talk to other adults properly because they weren't raised to talk to adults straight on, like, and give them their opinions, and you know what I mean? And you have to get comfortable with that. So, long story short, if your kids don't feel like they can come talk to you about something, there's a failure in the system that you call your house. And I know that now, having been through that, so I know what I have to do. And a lot of the times with black parents, speaking specifically about black parents always come from an older generation than their kids. And the older the generation, the farther the generation back, the less and less they were able to talk or speak around their parents the way that you need to. And it was an unwritten rule, but it limited them. And then we're finding out now as millennials what limited us. They didn't know that back then. So your parents are raising you, I guess, similar to the way that that they were raised, minus, minus the go get the switch off the tree, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to work out generational trauma. And black parents are not good at admitting to something that they did was wrong. That's not what if they put a roof over your head and food in your stomach, they didn't do anything wrong. And as a parent, as a parent of a 4-year-old, I could tell you now, whew, a roof and food in my son's mouth is quite possibly one of the easiest things I've ever done in my life. That's easy. That's easy work. It was harder. That it's easy. It's automatic. I'm 37. I've been working since I was 16. That's just automatic. The stuff that my son needs, when my son needs reassurance, when my son needs to be felt like the Prince of Egypt out here, when he needs to be told that he's smart, when he needs to be listened to and understood and hugged and given all that kind of stuff, right? When he needs all that, I have to be there for that. That's the hard stuff because I wasn't taught how to do that. I didn't have that kind of relationship with my father, so I wasn't able, because he didn't have that with his. So I wasn't able to talk to my dad growing up. Wasn't able to talk to my mom growing up. So, and I'm sure that they did not make it their life's mission to make it difficult for me to talk to them. I think processing feelings. First of all, my mom didn't even have a brother, so she's raising a son. She just knows kind of what she just knows what she got out of her father, my grandfather. That's all she has from that from that world. That's all she has. So my grandfather was very stern. From what I hear, fairly stoic. stern, chill. What he said, he didn't chew his food but once. He said what he said and he meant it. Um, and that's just kind of what it is. And that gets passed on. What happens is that generation does a little bit better, and then that generation does a little bit better, and then you got our generation, right? So it's our job to do a little bit better than that. But we do have to heal certain things. I bring about all of this to let you know that for a lot of us, when it comes to not wanting to be around people, as small as that sounds, a lot of the times it starts from the beginning, and it bubbles up, So as time went, I fell more into the streets, into stuff like that, and that was my decision. Meaning, when I say that, I mean when I was 13 and 14, I guess maybe it was me acting under something that I didn't understand, right? And I was just angry, and that's just what I was. I was angry all through middle school. I was angry all through high school, right? And I was trying to. It started off me trying to make sure that people knew not to test me. You're not finna just run over me. You know what I'm saying? And whatever. And I ended up full fledged. So that's just what it was. And I would say I knew I was fully in when I got arrested at school. That's kind of when I knew I was in. So it's basically what ended up happening. I was in 10th grade. 10th grade. I was in the middle of 10th grade. And everybody else, a lot of people had the Jordans and the whatever clothes and all this and all that, right? So that's me still trying to chase, um, trying to make everybody love me, right? Make everybody accept me. So I'm trying to go get the clothes and get the money and bubble like everybody else is. I mean, you got dudes, you got to think, I grew up around dudes that made more money in high school than their parents made, than their mom made, grandma, whatever. So they pull out fat knots. At school, lunchtime, you sit next to us, they'll pull out knots of money, hundreds, thousands of dollars, right? And they're counting the money up, boom, 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 thumbing through it. They might take something else out a little bit, and then put that in the other pocket, and open their backpack, and they got a bag about this big. I'm not sure I could say the name on YouTube, but you know, something you can smoke, something you can smoke. You know what I'm saying? So bag full of that green, right? And they take it out and start chopping it up and grinding it up. And they rolling. You know what I'm saying? They rolling L's up right there, getting it in, right? And you sitting by these dudes, you seeing how the women react to them. You seeing them, and then them same dudes graduate, and the girl that you like in school, you're like, man, she don't like, she got no boyfriend, she fine. That same dude graduated 2 years ago. He's still picking her up after school, knocking them down, and she's 17, 16, right? He 20 almost. He 19, 20 almost. You know what I mean? It's because he has the money. And we ain't even gonna speak on how foul that is, right? A lot of people got done like that, and it's people using each other. She's 16, she wants his money, right? She know what she's doing. He's 19, 20, he wants her body. He know what he's doing. And meanwhile, you got the regular guys in school who would look. They don't want to take her to prom, right? They don't want to take her to prom. You can't take her to prom. She got a whole boyfriend, or maybe you could. I don't know, but do you want to? Because what are you gonna take her to prom and sweep her off her feet and drop her off at his house or something? I don't know, but that's just the life. That's kind of what was going on at the time. And so I saw all that, right? I saw the money and everything, and I decided I wanted some of that too. So, I got into the game real light. Got into the game real light. It was doing my thing, and I served somebody across the street from my school. I thought they were a solid, you know what I'm saying? I thought they were a solid individual, because I knew that person's sister and I had, hung out with them recently before. But again, one thing that I got to understand is obviously people tell, don't get me wrong, but also I had a bad habit of, because I didn't know when I was accepted, I assumed people didn't accept me, so I didn't know. I had a bad habit of assuming, okay, that person, okay, that's my friend, right? And that's what happened with this. So I'm across the street, you know, getting it off, trying to go home with something in my pocket, right? And I serve one of the, like I said, I serve somebody. They boom, they bust right. They go to the right. They look like they're walking home. Cool, whatever. He doesn't go to the school. We're across the street from the school at a business, right? So boom, they go to school, whatever, and go do their thing. I mean, so I'm thinking, scratch that. He doesn't go to the school. So we boom, boom, I get it off, right? He goes to the right. I'm thinking he's getting ready to go home and probably roll up. I don't know, right? So I go back in the donut shop. I come out of the donut shop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 2, 3 police pull up on me. So they're like, hey man, what's going on? One dude starts searching me. Hey, what's going on? Whatever, whatever. So they pull out a knot, you know what I mean? And it was what it was. So they ended up taking me back to the school, and bring me into the office. They cuffed me, brought me into the office, and then, question me. They did their job, whatever, question me, whatever, try to find out where I got it from. Told them I found it under a tree or at the foot. So I gave them some. The answer I gave them was to let them know it was a BS answer, so that they knew that that wasn't something that I was prepared to do. We're not doing that. I bought from the dude that I bought from, or the dudes, or whatever. I don't even remember who it was, but I don't even remember anything about that particular part. But boom, I copped at that time from who I copped from, and that particular person, um, I copped from them, right? So I made the decision to call the people or meet up with a person, people, whatever it was. Like I said, I can't remember exactly how I did it, but I did it. That was my decision to do it. I can tell you that for sure. So I'm not finna tell you, And I remember, when I was in the back of the police car, I remember seeing, um, um, one of the dudes, right, that I had caught from way in the past, and he was walking home real fast trying to get home. And I remember talking to him, like, I think a week later, and he was like, bro, I didn't know if you told. I didn't know. And I said, bro, that's crazy that you didn't know if I told. That was, I think I stopped messing with, bro. I couldn't even believe that you would even, it ain't that, like, look, it's just stupid stuff looking back on it. But it didn't even make any sense to me. You thought I told, bro? It just didn't even register to me. But, we were in high school, so we didn't know all the rules of, like, we didn't know all the rules of how this goes. So, I give it to him. He just, he didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. So, that's kind of how that went. Got caught, went to the office, they whatever, they probation, 4-way search, um, uh, what else I have, community service, whatever. Community service is a whole nother story in itself. This is not a a YouTube channel about what I did wrong and my ghetto stories and all that weird. It ain't nothing like that. This is just me explaining to you kind of how things work. So that then, me getting caught with that, right? Um, kicked me out of all schools in California. So I got expelled, whatever. You know how that goes. I wasn't eligible, until to come back to schools until I moved to a whole different, until the same time that next year. So I came back to that school, and I came back. It was like a little level of respect. People thought I was washed and all this and all that. So it was what it was. You know what I mean? A lot of people I didn't like weren't even there anymore, to keep it a buck. and it was what it was. So it was a lot more smooth scenario. I ended up getting me a girlfriend at the time, um, and that was my first solid girlfriend. I would say my first actual girlfriend at the time. So things were, looking up, but I felt different. I felt I felt different. I'm not gonna lie, I needed that, but I felt different. I felt like now that has happened, there's people that like, hey, what's going on, bro? What's going on? You good, bro? You get more respect. And I felt like, nah, man, because there was a time before I did what I did that y'all treated me a specific way. You know what I'm saying? We're talking race riots at the school, all kind of stuff. So there was that. Now, what ended up happening was I dove into the streets, right? And if it wasn't obvious that I was already there, I dove into the streets, right? Oh yeah, by the way, this is Echo. This is an old Echo shirt. I'm finna wear it because I can still fit it, and I feel like that's crazy because I'm a big boy, right? But old school. That's a throwback. This is an antique, right? I'm supposed to be wiping off tables and pictures and all that with it, but it is what it is. This is back when they made clothes that lasted, So I dove into the streets, yeah, and got real deep in the streets, and a lot of different things happened. That we're talking got PTSD, a lot of things that ended up happening, running around in places where the certain stuff happens, running around making things happen, running around retaliating, reacting, sometimes even putting yourself in situations. There's so many things that ended up happening where I never had a chance to build trust for people. So now I got social anxiety. I'm used to friends not really being friends. I think my first set of friends that I actually feel like are my friends, I met them as an adult. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, it's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an adult, I met them. So my message for y'all when it comes to, I don't want to go around people, and I'm still the same way to this day. I would love not to go around people, and I challenge myself to do it from time to time, but I don't do it very often. And I would say this to you guys: if you guys know somebody that's young, that's kind of you can see aiming in that direction, let them know how weird this looks when you're 37. Let them know how ridiculous the story sounds when you're 37. I got gray hair and I sound like I'm whining to you on YouTube. So I don't want to be in a position. I don't want to sound like this. There's a lot of things that happen in the background. I got this issue, that issue, whatever. But all of these things come together to create social anxiety, to create an issue with intrusive thoughts, um, automatic thoughts. Automatic thoughts are tough, but all of these things happen. When your brain is telling you, don't do this because you're not good enough, because that initial feeling of being good enough was never created, and then you didn't cultivate it yourself. Now, as a grown man, you can't blame anybody. I'm 37 with gray hair. I can't blame nobody. Um, that's over with. I'm not finna be. I got a 4-year-old. Who am I? I need to. You either gonna sit down and get help, or you gonna roll with it, and you owe it to your children or to yourself, whoever, spouse, whoever, to try to make it better. So that's my message is to make it better if you have this issue. It's something I'm dealing with, and it's not helpful to my marriage. It's not helpful to my family. It's not helpful to some of my friends. It's not helpful at all. They don't see you for months and months and months because you can't bring yourself to go outside and be around people because you don't trust people. You don't know what they're thinking. You're always thinking, oh man, they don't like me. They're if somebody is talking and I come into the room and they stop talking, every bone in my body tells me that they're talking about me. Every bone. There's so many times I was aggressive with people and had issues with people because I thought they were talking about me, speaking on me, and they were not. So now I'm a grown man or older, an adult that's acting like a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And that comes from a time when I was a kid, high school, middle school, where yeah, they were talking about me. They were saying this and that about me. There was rumors. There was this. There was that. Used to want to just sit inside a class and never leave out of class. Just wait till the bell, wait till right before the bell rings and go to that class. I just lunch, sit inside of a teacher's class. I don't even want to go outside. You know what I mean? Because that's where the torture happens out there. So again, man, if you guys have the ability to catch this and nip this in the bud, or fix it after the fact, do that now. Do that now, because this is what they say. This ain't cute. This is not it's not for the weak, but also it's not for the strong either. It's not for anybody. But I'm gonna holla at y'all, man.